Breath support doesn't solve everything. A common theme I see with beginner singers or just singers in general is we tend to over-index breath support. And I get this. This is often one of the first concepts we learn about when it comes to singing. It all starts from the belly, support more for those higher notes. Now, I'm not saying that it's not important, but what I'm suggesting here is it's a piece of the puzzle. And so today I want to break down breath support, what it actually does and why it doesn't solve everything when it comes to singing. It might not even be what you need to be focusing on right now. And at the end, I'll also share with you an exercise so that you can feel it and realize that it's not as complex as you think it needs to be. And so you can move on to other things. Real quick, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And really on this channel, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. If you're interested in improving your voice faster with less of the headaches, I do have links in the description on how you can work with me privately and a self-study program that you can work through in a step 1, step 2, step 3 manner. If you want to inspire our next episode, just also let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about next. Anyway, let's dive in. So what does breath support actually do? The first thing to realize here is air is needed to create sound, but it's only part of the picture. And what I mean by this is, of course, if we don't blow any air, there will be no sound. But likewise, without the resistance, without the closure from the vocal folds, no matter how much air you blow through, there's also not going to be a sound. And so really, anytime we are making a sound, it's these two things working together. And this is what I consider as breath support. The breath is literally supporting the vocal folds. And this brings me to my next point, which is breath support is about creating a stable sound, creating stable phonation, creating a stable voice. No one likes a shaky voice. We generally want the voice to be, fairly kind of steady. We also like it to be fairly kind of smooth. And this is where I think breath support can really come in. And so if we can find a steady flow of air that meets a steady, resistance from the vocal folds, then we're going to create a much, much more stable voice. Now, what do I mean by it doesn't solve everything? Notice how I didn't mention anything about high notes. A lot of people learning how to sing will often hear the advice that I need to support more. I need to kind of sing from the diaphragm more in order to fix or find the higher notes. And this can work indirectly at times, but it doesn't solve the problem fundamentally, which is pitch change, especially trying to sing higher, is a result of your vocal folds stretching and thinning out. And so if you want to improve your range, sure, learning how to sing with more support or use your air better, that might help. But a better strategy here is learning what it actually feels like to change pitch, what it feels like to stretch those vocal folds. And I've talked about this many, many times. If you're interested in this, I would highly recommend watching episode 129, Isolating the Stretch. This is where I guide a student in feeling pitch change and feeling the stretching of those vocal folds. Now, as I promised earlier, let's get you to feel what good breath support is, and it's probably going to be simpler than you think. So the first exercise here is I want you to practice feeling a steady release of air. And we're going to use a hissing sound like this. Tss. And the reason why we use this is a hiss is meant to mimic the resistance of the vocal folds, which we might not have good control of yet. So you can just get us to feel the underlying air being released smoothly. And it just sounds like this. Now you can see how long you can go for, but what we're looking for here is we just want to notice what it feels like to blow air consistently. There's going to be a certain feeling in the body. Another way you can kind of know if you're doing it correctly is just hearing if the hiss is steady. If it's kind of pulsing around like this, and this is a sign that the airflow isn't steady. But notice how natural breath support feels like. There's just a slight engagement in the body, and notice how it's also a response to me trying to keep the airflow steady or me trying to make this a steady sound. Now, once you get this, let's move over to the second part of this exercise, which is we're going to swap out the hissing for vocal fold closure. And so we're going to try to find a similar feeling of flow, that release of air, that feeling that you might have noticed in the body. But now let's do it on a hum. Now, as I'm making this sound, I feel a very similar feeling in the body, that feeling of releasing air as when I go tss. And you can even go back and forth just to notice how they feel. Tss, tss, You can even try to open your mouth or speak on it whilst keeping that underlying feeling. Tss, I don't even know. Hey, my name is Ivan, but there's this kind of constant feeling of airflow. That's it. What you'll find is most of you will get to this spot pretty easily, but then you might not be able to find across all of your range, especially maybe some of the high notes. Now, what this points to is maybe, yes, you can kind of brush up on the breath support a bit more, but what this might point to is we need to actually tackle the stretching part of the movement, right? Learning what that feels like first, and then incorporating the similar feeling of breath support. But that's for another episode. Anyway, that is all. Hopefully you found this episode useful. If you did, please leave a 5-star if you're listening from the podcast, or if you're on YouTube, leaving a like, comment, subscribe really means the world to me, and it just helps this grow and reach more people. Apart from that, my name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher. If you're interested in working with me, links down in the description. Apart from that, I'll see you next week. Take care.